Welcome to the Invite Health podcast, where our degreed healthcare professionals are excited to offer you the most important health and wellness information you need to make informed choices about your health. You can learn more about the products discussed in each of these episodes and all that Invite Health has to offer at www.invitehealth.com/podcast. First-time customers can use promo code podcast at checkout for an additional 15% off your first purchase. Let's get started.
Most of us at some point in our lives have probably had a friend or a family member tell you about this really amazing total body detox and that you just have to try it. Once you do, you're going to feel really, really good. Well, I want to talk a little bit about detoxification, and if you are thinking about doing a cleanse, the best way to go about doing this, because what we do know is that detoxes and cleanses can come on a whole big box of varieties. So you can look at different processes that are geared towards trying to remove chemicals or toxins from the body. And this is to try and promote weight loss and just overall health. And these can come in the form of maybe only drinking certain juices or certain liquids, maybe eating only certain foods, using different herbal remedies. But at the end of the day, what we have to recognize is the body goes through detoxification on a daily basis. And so what we need to focus on is not these crash detoxes, but what we need to do to support daily detoxification. So I'm Amanda Williams, MD, MPH, and let's talk about metabolic detoxification. Metabolic detoxification is something that occurs each and every single day in the body, and our bodies are very well equipped to go through and process unwanted chemicals so that the body can get rid of these. And these are foreign chemicals that maybe we're taking in via our foods. They can be coming from different medications. They certainly can be coming from topical things. So say, for example, your lotion or your shampoo. So we have to make sure that the body has the tools that it needs to go through the metabolic detoxification process. Remember, this happens each and every single day. Now, the body as a whole, being that it is this great machine, generally is very effective at detoxifying itself. And we can still absorb our key vitamins and minerals and other nutrients. But when we start to have more added toxins and more kind of clogging up of the pipes, one would say, this is when you can start to have those unwanted feelings. Maybe you feel fatigued. Maybe you feel like you're gaining weight. Maybe you feel like your skin's not as healthy as you think it should be. So then we know that we are probably impacting some phase of the normal metabolic detoxification. When I say impacting it, it means we are adding additional workload onto those phases. And over time, sometimes that becomes so taxed that it cannot keep up. So let's look at just kind of the basics of detoxification in the body. We know that the environmental toxins that we breathe in, that we ingest via foods, as I mentioned, prescription medications, all of these are cleared through the body through enzymatic detoxification. And we know that if this enzymatic detoxification pathway becomes clogged up, as I always say, then we need to make remedy to that. Now, what we do know is that those quick fad cleanses generally don't do that, because what's happening in those fad cleanses, the total body detox, is that we are stripping maybe the toxin, but we are impeding, once again, proper pathway or phase detoxification, because we are also taking away key vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients that are needed. Which is why when many people do those types of fad cleanse or fad detox, maybe for the first day or two, you say, oh yeah, I think I feel better. But it doesn't last. And why is that? Because we're not actually supporting daily detoxification. So we have these three different phases. You have phase one, and this is happening in every single person's body, which is the enzymatic transformation. So basically, this is when the chemicals that we are taking in, whether ingested, breathing them in, coming from the foods, topically, like I said, getting into the bloodstream. Those need to be basically chemically transformed into water-soluble compounds. And if they are not, then we have a problem, because then we have too much of these lipid-soluble harmful compounds, these toxins that can start to really clog up our liver. So this is generally carried out by what are known as cytochrome P450 enzymes. And this is very, very complex. So I'm not going to get heavy into that, but I just want to give you kind of a brief overview of what's going on in the body each and every single day. And then once we have those conversions into the water-soluble compounds, then we go into this enzymatic conjugation phase, which is phase 2. And this is to further increase that water solubility and decrease the reactivity of those phase 1 products. So those chemicals that are in phase 1, they go into further reduction. And this is happening with many of our natural endogenous antioxidants, such as glutathione, really helps to support phase 2. Then we get into phase 3. And the purpose of phase 3 is to excrete out those water-soluble compounds from the cell itself, so that they are not lingering within the cell, creating a toxic environment for your cells, which means your cell is eventually not going to work well. So we know that phase 1 is where we have most of that toxic chemical exposure occurring. And then phase 2, we can kind of look at that as the neutralizing component. And then phase 3 is going to be our elimination of that. Now, when we think about ways that we can eliminate phase 1 chemicals, well, we can think about things that we do have control over. We can think about our foods. We can make sure that we are consuming organic foods, for example, things that we know haven't been peppered with pesticides. This is really important because we don't want to add chemicals that our liver has to deal with. So choosing organic when possible. We always want to make sure that we are cleaning our fruits and vegetables. You want to make sure that you are limiting your intake of things like processed foods, so processed meats, things that are prepared foods, the frozen TV dinners, for example. We want to make sure that when you are storing your foods or warming up, reheating foods, that you are using phthalate-free containers. So the BPA, that's where we always want to make sure that we have BPA-free. We want to make sure that we are lowering our exposure to any of the volatile organic compounds, which can come off of cleaning supplies. So maybe you have a favorite scented cleaning spray that you like to use on your counters to wipe your counters down. That could be a source of a chemical that your body now has to contend with because you're going to absorb that in. So we know that when we look at what the body utilizes through these different phases of detoxification, we can look at our vitamins and minerals. We know that they play a really important role in both phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. So we can look at our B vitamins, including things like niacin, riboflavin, folate, vitamin C, vitamin E. Very, very important. We can look at magnesium, selenium. We know that all of these are very important in helping to support that proper detoxification of phase 1 chemical. And then we can also look and see other things that maybe we're getting exposed to from our foods, such as powerful flavonols. So say if your diet is high in things like bright colored fruits and vegetables, naturally bright, of course, then you know that you're getting a good exposure to those powerful flavonols, which can very much so help through that phase 2. So remember, we have phase 1, that's when we're trying to handle that chemical. Phase 2, we are trying to further make that chemical less impactful, detrimental to our cell. And then in phase 3, we're getting rid of that. So this is why things like green tea, sulforaphanes, the green tea containing the EGCG, for example, and the tannins coming from the green tea can be very helpful for phase 2. We can look at the sulforaphane coming from cruciferous vegetables, broccoli in particular, as being very potent inducers of that phase 2 detoxification. So those enzymes that are involved, remember these are all enzymatic processes that are occurring. N-acetylcysteine, we certainly know, because that's going to help to bolster up that glutathione level. milk thistle. Most people have probably heard something about milk thistle and when it comes to liver health. So we know that both liver and kidney detoxification are very supported when it comes to milk thistle. It's the actual silymarin, which is a constituent within milk thistle that does so much support. So there's a lot of different ways that we want to make sure that we are properly supporting our body's ability to detoxify. Because what does that mean? That means every day we're doing a daily cleanse. So if you know you are not taking in the right foods, well, then at minimum, we want to make sure that we have a good multivitamin on board so that we're getting that exposure to the B vitamins, to vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A, those minerals to support detoxification. We also have to make those lifestyle modifications and start to remove those levels of exposure. We have to understand that through toxins and toxic exposure throughout our life, this is what can exert incredibly detrimental impacts on our health. And we know that the diet is the major source of toxin exposures coming from things like pesticides, residues that come from food processing. We know all of this, but yet we oftentimes don't make appropriate modifications to our lifestyle, nor to trying to remedy the impact that we have done on the liver by giving the liver back those key nutrients that it needs to go through those 3 very important daily phases of removing harmful chemicals. I had mentioned the volatile organic compounds, which we know is a very common risk that has been associated with many different health issues. We look at endocrine disruptors. Certainly we know a lot of the chemicals that are used in cleaning agents are known endocrine disruptors, meaning they are going to screw up your hormones, create hormonal imbalances. We can clearly look at respiratory impacts of these volatile organic compounds. This is why those VOCs, even say if you've recently painted your house, or just one area in your home, and you see that a lot of the paint now says low VOC or no VOC. So what they're referring to is those volatile organic compounds, because they know that these are creating problems in the human body. Why? Because it comes through the liver, and the liver's like, what in the world am I supposed to do with this? So then it wastes all of its key endogenous antioxidants to try and get rid of it. And now the liver is completely open to further damage because it doesn't have those nutrients to be able to combat the next round of assault, which is why I said those crash cleanses oftentimes are not the best thing, because we are stripping the body that ability to properly deal with the next assault. So avoiding toxins is really important. And you have a lot of control over that. You can choose the type of cleaning supplies that you use. And there are so many clean products out there that are available now. You can look for organic produce that has been grown without pesticide. We can make sure that if you are buying fruits and vegetables that maybe are not organic, that you're doing what you can to make sure that you clean them really well. All of these things are ways to make sure that we can help our body go through a daily cleanse. It's very complex, but yet it's very common. It's not like this is something that the body does like every 6 months. This is every single day. Phase 1, detoxification. Then phase 2, detoxification. Then it gets into phase 3, detoxification. And we know that different nutrients are working through those different phases. We know that in phase 2, for example, we have a thing called NRF2, which is a master regulator of antioxidant response. And we know that NRF2 activation is very important, and high levels of NRF2 turns on these genes of many antioxidant proteins. So what we do know is that when there's high oxidative stress or the presence of toxins in the cell, NRF2 tries to regulate that. And the way that it's doing that is via our endogenous antioxidants, glutathione, superoxide dismutase, coenzyme Q10. When you think about exposure to heavy metals, arsenic, mercury, lead, all of these things happen in the body each and every single day. But if we don't help to support that process throughout our lives, or if we know that we've had higher exposure to foods that maybe aren't clean, you've ate a lot of processed foods throughout your life, you've used a lot of different chemicals in your house for cleaning, things like that, then you want to make sure that you are doing right by your body now. So how can you achieve this? So I always look at something like the daily detox. The daily detox formulation in and of itself is a really comprehensive blend of key nutrients that impact those 3 phases of detoxification. So we talked about why those are important, those different phases, and why we need to make sure that we have nutrients on board to support that. So when we look at the Dr. Pressman daily detox formula, we are looking at milk thistle. We are looking at ellagic acid, which is a very powerful fruit-based antioxidant, has green tea extracts. We know the power of those tannins and the EGCG coming from the green tea. Chlorella. You know, the chlorella, very, very powerful. We look at chlorella as kind of having its own unique superfood capabilities. Why? Because chlorella naturally has this full spectrum of vitamins and minerals. At the same time, very powerful antioxidant and very targeted towards specific toxins, including heavy metals. And then it has NAC in this as well. So we're having methionine, we've got chlorella, NAC, green tea, dandelion root extract. Know that dandelion root extract is certainly very important for proper fluid balance within the body. So when we think about the liver's role in detoxification, but also the kidney, and the dandelion root extract is very supportive to the kidney in the way that the kidney is going through those phases, similar to that of the liver. So choosing the right foods, skipping foods that you know are creating a heavy burden on your liver, having nutrients such as milk thistle, NAC, that multivitamin, such as the core multivitamin, all of these things can very much so help the overall health of your liver and those different phases of detoxification throughout our lives. Because every single day, the body has to go through this. And if we are starving the body from basics, B vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin E, how can it ever keep up with that workload? It can't. And this is why it's so important to understand that when you're thinking about doing a cleanse or you're thinking about doing a detox, this is something that should be your primary focus each and every single day. So what should you be using? A comprehensive detox formulation, such as the daily detox powder, as well as a good comprehensive multivitamin, multi-mineral formulation. So the core multivitamin, along with that daily detox powder, is a really good 1-2 punch to support those 3 very critical phases of detoxification in the body. So I just wanted to give you a basic rundown of why you should consider doing a detox, but not one of those cleanses or a crash detox, but actually detoxing by supporting your body's natural detoxification pathways each and every single day. So that is all that I have for you for today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Invite Health podcast. Remember, you can find all of our episodes for free wherever you listen to podcasts or by visiting invitehealth.com/podcast. Now, do make sure that you subscribe and you leave us a review. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health. And we will see you next time for another episode of the Invite Health podcast.